أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ربي اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك إني كنت من الظالمين وصلى اللهم على محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين والحمد لله رب العالمين آمين. Hatice, whenever you're ready, please begin. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. We are reading from the 17th Flash, 13th Note, and we will be beginning the second matter. Before we begin, I just wanted to summarize some of the main points that I was looking at from the first matter. So the 13th Note seems to be about 5 matters that have been a cause of confusion. And the first matter from last week revolved around basically one's own responsibility versus, finding myself in a position where I may be overstepping my own bounds, as in potentially perhaps testing, quote unquote, testing God, whereas by following the order of the universe, I am benefiting myself. So I'll just leave that there as a reminder so that we can keep that in the back of our minds as we move on to the second matter. So the second matter, worship and servitude of God, look to the divine command and divine pleasure. The reason for worship is the divine command, and its result is divine pleasure. Worship and servitude of God look to the divine command and divine pleasure. The reason for worship is the divine command, and its result is divine pleasure. Its fruits and benefits look to the hereafter. So the fruits and benefits of worship look to the hereafter. But so long as they are not the ultimate reason and not intentionally sought, benefits looking to this world and fruits which come about themselves and are given are not contrary to worship. But so long as they are not the ultimate reason, so long as the fruits and benefits of worship are not the ultimate reason and are not intentionally sought, these benefits looking to this world and fruits which come about themselves and are given are not contrary to worship. So as long as they're not sought, they're not contrary to the nature of worship. They are rather to encourage the weak and make them inclined to worship. If those fruits and benefits are made the reason for the invocation or recitation, or a part of the reason, it in part invalidates the worship. So if those fruits and benefits are made the reason for the invocation or recitation, or a part of the reason, it in part invalidates the worship. Indeed, it renders the meritorious invocation fruitless and produces no results. Thus, those who do not understand this mystery recite, for example, the Awrad Qudsiya Shah Naqshband, which yields 100 benefits and merits, or Jawshan al-Kabir, which yields 1,000, making some of those benefits their prime intention. So if those who do not understand this mystery recite these things, which yield hundreds or thousands of benefits or merits, then it makes these benefits their make these benefits their prime intention. They do not receive the benefits and shall not receive them, and do not deserve to receive them. For the benefits may not be the reason for the invocation and may not themselves be intended and sought. For they are obtained when unsought in consequence of the sincere invocation as a favor. If they are intended, it damages the sincerity to an extent. Indeed, it ceases being worship and loses all value. But there is one matter, which is that weak people need something to encourage them to recite meritorious invocations. But there is one matter, which is that weak people need something to encourage them to recite meritorious invocations. If they think of the benefits and eagerly recite them purely for God's sake and for the hereafter, it causes no harm and is acceptable even. But because this instance of wisdom has not been understood, many of them come to doubt or even to deny the benefits narrated from the spiritual poles and righteous ones of former generations when they do not receive them. If they think of the benefits and eagerly recite them purely for God's sake and for the hereafter, it causes no harm and is acceptable even. But because this instance of wisdom has not been understood, many of them come to doubt or even to deny the benefits narrated from the spiritual poles and righteous ones of former generations when they do not receive them. And that marks the end of the second matter. Okay, so I will go ahead and share my immediate takeaways, but in the meantime, if anyone has anything that attracts their attention or questions that pop up, please feel free to write them down or raise your hand. Inshallah, everyone benefits from everyone's comments and questions. All right, so the second matter seems to be revolving around, I think it seems to be intention and worship. So it says, worship and servitude of God look to the divine command and divine pleasure. And the reason for worship is the divine command, and its result is divine pleasure. Its fruits and benefits look to the hereafter. So, you know, I think if I zoom out in an overall sense, it's saying that if, you know, I think there are a lot of words here that kind of need to be defined. For example, benefits, like what does it mean? What are the benefits of worship that one may seek to obtain? Is it, you know, material, worldly aspects of it that if I worship, like, is it, for example, you know, if the physical aspect of prayer itself, salah, like if I do it for like kind of like yoga to benefit my body, are these the sort of benefits that this worship is referring to? Or if I fast because it has, you know, health, like health benefits to my body, are these the sort of benefits that the author here is referring to? So that would be my one question. What are these fruits and benefits that, you know, if it says that if the one who worships does it for these reasons, then it kind of renders empty the worship of its nature of being worshipped almost. It says it damages the sincerity of it, and it renders, it loses, no longer, it stops being worship and loses all value. So there's a serious claim that's being made here by the author. So some questions that come off, some immediate questions is how am I to understand benefits here? Another reason is what exactly is divine command and divine pleasure? Worship and servitude of God look to the divine command and divine pleasure. and the reason for worship is divine command, and its result is divine pleasure. I wonder if is it from like the sort of pleasure that I receive when following the order of the universe? Is that it? That, you know, once I recognize, or in following the order of the universe that I am following, that I'm also acting in alignment with the will of a conscious being who has established this order, or the one who is the orderer, and in acting in such a way, it aligns with my nature of having been created, my createdness. Is this the sort of divine command and divine pleasure that the text here is referring to? And what, maybe one other question I'll also pose at the time being is how, for example, perhaps it might be helpful, I think, for me, and maybe others might benefit from it as well. But if we can define or refresh ourselves with what worship means. So I guess to get the ball rolling, you know, worship as the relationship between he who is created, so myself, and within my createdness, looking to the one who creates, my source of existence, and that that relationship there, building on that relationship, I think would be the starting point of understanding worship. But I'm just going to take a pause here to see if any of these questions resonate with anyone, or if they have any thoughts, or maybe even a little bit something that they want to share that might illuminate something, or something that attracted their attention. Please feel free to raise your hand. Please go ahead, Ali Murmur.
I would like to speak to somebody in a dialogue so I can express myself better. For example, if you make something, let's say you cooked a nice food and offered to the people, what do you expect to offer the food to the people who visit you or who are the members of your family? So what do you expect from them? You offered them. And anybody who would answer, please.
Is there anyone who'd like to take part in this dialogue?
I'll take part.
Okay. So, okay, not you, Yasemin.
Yasemin, she's the baker anyways.
Yeah, I guessed that. Her background, family background. So when Yasemin, I'd rather speak to Yasemin because she is the chef in the house. I'm guessing. So Yasemin, when you make a nice food and offer to Mustafa, when I come, don't forget to offer me as well to visit you, inshallah. So Mustafa and I were there together, and you offered the nice food. According to you, it's the best, okay? I'm not saying it is not in reality the best. It is in reality the best as well. Let's assume this. This is just an example. What do you expect from us when we are offered the food?
To be honest, thank yous. I expect you to try it, and probably my pride will expect compliments.
Yeah, of course. First, if we don't eat it, if we say thank you, what would you feel?
I would say you haven't tried it yet. I'd feel like you think.
Yeah, you cannot be sincere in your thankfulness. Eh?
Yes.
Okay, so if I have 2 or 3 spoons and leave the rest and throw it into the trash can, what do you think?
Be honest.
I think I failed. That I did a terrible job.
So if I come there, if it happens, when I come there, you will see me how love food, how I love food. Then I eat it, and anytime I take, I say, thank you very much, Yasemin. That is the best food I have eaten. Of course, it's not an hypocrisy, real way. Because your work has fulfilled its mission, isn't it?
Yes.
When I eat it. So at the end, I say, thank you very much. But I have to utilize it to the highest level possible for me. You will enjoy it.
Yes, I would.
But it is, you suffer as a human being, you suffered, not suffered, you labored to make it. You took the labor, I got the enjoyment. Because of my enjoyment, you loved your work, your enjoyment. You got the enjoyment as well because of you made something, then the people appreciated it. You feel pleased with my pleasure, correct?
Yes, correct.
What is it related to our subject? You, Mustafa, so you made a perfect program, Mustafa, for the company. And you said, okay, this program perfectly works. And you offered the program to your colleagues, to the people who work in the same company. None of them used it properly, and some of them throw it away. Some of them used at a very simple level. For example, my very conventional example is to use the computer. How I use the computer like a typewriter. So it's very simple level, at a very simple level. But you know that your program can do 1,000 times more, and no one is utilizing it. Do you get disappointed?
Yeah, I do.
Okay,
throwing
but you did your job best. But when it is not utilized, when it is not benefited, you get disappointed. Correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
But if the people really used it, and at the end, if they come to you as well, whether they come or they don't come doesn't matter. But if they come, it is even better that you feel pleasure.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. Now, both examples demonstrate that we have to understand divine pleasure, this expression, like this. The universe is so wonderful, awesome, unbelievably perfect. If we don't use it for the purpose it is made, like I ate 2-3 spoons from the food that Yasemin offered me, and I took it and threw it into the trash can. But the purpose of the food was to be eaten, enjoyed, and feel the need of somebody. But I used it not inappropriate to the purpose of the food. Yasemin said she will be disappointed. You said the same thing on the same line. You will be disappointed. So when we don't use the universe for the purpose it has been made, of course, the maker will not be pleased with us. When we use it as much as possible, try to use it even more, the maker of the universe will be pleased more. That is what divine pleasure means. We mostly interpret some, not we, it was wrong. Some people really mostly interpret divine pleasure, why God does needs my thankfulness, my enjoying the creation. Does he really need it? It's a kind of misused understanding of God's pleasure. So we have to understand that the Creator expects us to utilize His work as much as possible. This is not a sadistic expectation. Mostly, especially those people who don't want to submit themselves to the Creator, uses this expression, why does God ask me to worship Him? It means to enjoy His act, his work, and use it and be thankful for it, for the purpose it was created, not to be thrown into the trash can, saying that this is nothing but accidental. It is nothing but just meaningless being. It is worse than throwing the food into the trash can or just ignoring your program, Mustafa and Yasin. It is horrible. So that is why God asks us to get in touch with Him in the form of worship. It means in the form of appreciation, in the form of acknowledgement, in the form of using His work and getting pleasure from it for myself. My Creator also creating this feeling in me that if my food is not used properly, I get disappointed. This feeling is created by the one who created me in order to get to know Him. I have to utilize this and say that if someone doesn't appreciate my work, I get disappointed. As a created being, I say the same thing. If my Creator sees me that I am not utilizing His work, He will be disappointed. I'm not talking on behalf of Him. I am talking through my own experience and coming to a conclusion. That is what I am. So I have to be honest with myself, to myself, and I shouldn't contradict myself because my feeling tells me that if I utilize the gift, whatever is presented to me, present, for the purpose it is given to me, and enjoy it, I will enjoy it. So that I will understand that that is the only way to reach the pleasure of God. It is mostly used either, or not used, abused by those people who deny the Creator, but misused by those who believe in the Creator. This word of divine pleasure or pleasure of God. God will be pleased with you if you worship Him. And of course, inevitable question follows. Why does He need my worship? So that He will be pleased and enjoy it in a sadistic way to satisfy themselves. I think this word is very dangerous if it is not properly used, when it is not used in the right context. This God's pleasure. We have to please God. What does it mean? I am not entertaining somebody. I'm not an entertainer. Here, I am just using the universe in an appropriate way, according to the purpose of its existence. That's it. I am enjoying it. I am enjoying the creation. I am not doing anything. I am not contradicting my own being, enjoying it, being consistent within myself so that I won't be suffering from psychological depressions or other psychic problems. This is my pleasure. But I understand that the more I am pleased with my own self, my maker will be pleased with me because I am appreciating his work. That is how we should understand the reality of what worship is, by using our own given feelings to understand what the reality is. I am using my own feelings that I am created with. I didn't create my feelings. That brings me to the end of my discussion, my talk today, because this divine pleasure is a big problem among the unbelievers, deniers, and also among the Muslims. I am trying to please my God by worshiping him, doing certain things, not utilizing his work, not being aware that I am using myself in the right way. I am a very, very complicated machine, wonderful, unimaginably complicated machine, and working perfectly in harmony. I have to be consistent within myself. I shouldn't contradict myself, so that my maker will say, okay, this is the purpose I created you. I am very pleased that you didn't disappoint me. That is from my perspective. I'm not talking from God's perspective. That is what my understanding is, and I have to be consistent within my own understanding. Thank you.
Thank you. There's a hand up. Please go ahead, Mustafa Yassin.
I mean, I understand the idea of the worship as you describe it. I understand where that fits in, and what it looks like. What's using my own created ability of worship and fulfilling that fits in. My question is, how does it become insincere? This matter is warning us about insincerity in worship. I get what sincerity looks like. I think you described it perfectly. It's following the order of yourself. It's using your faculties to appreciate everything you're shown and given, and attributing it and acknowledging the creator of those things. That to me is very clear definition of worship. But my misunderstanding is, how can it become insincere, and where are these kinds of secondary benefits that he's talking about in the reading? And that's my I need more clarity on that.
Thank you for your question. Please go ahead, Ali Mama.
H. Beza, would you like to say something? Because I am going to get into Mustafa's question.
Okay, let's do this. Let's answer Mustafa's question, and then we'll follow through with the comments, inshallah.
I would like to listen to your, as a moderator, how to wrap up all what we said. Yeah, and put it into a sequence.
Okay, inshallah.
Into a form. Okay.
Okay.
Now, sorry.
All right. So let me just wrap up certain point that was made, and then we'll segue into Mustafa's question. So based on your initial earlier comment. One certain points that also attracted my attention were using the feeling within me to kind of using the feelings or my experiences as a point of reference. So not speaking on behalf of God, right? When I in the two examples of the cooking under programming, in which in both of the cases, I'm using my experience there to come to a certain conclusion about the nature of things. And also in that experience, for example, if I'm a part of the workplace and someone has produced this program, for example, and the program is perfect, but I'm not utilizing the program to the utmost degree that it can be utilized, right? I'm not taking full advantage, or I'm not utilizing the opportunity in the best way possible, and I'm aware of this fact, then that also gives me disappointment as well. So I think I was just, when I first read the text, I was thinking about divine command and divine pleasure also, how do I understand these without going or speaking on behalf of God or speaking on behalf of God's perspective? So in my mind, at least, approaching it from, if someone cooks something for me, for example, even if I cook, like in the two examples, it was clear if I am, the quote unquote, the producer of something and someone doesn't utilize it for the purpose that it was made, then it creates some sort of disappointment in me because it's the existence of that thing is not being utilized. But on the flip side, if someone cooks something for me, right, and I don't utilize that food in the way it's meant to be, if I'm not hungry, right, then I don't fulfill the purpose of that food. And I myself may be disappointed because I'm not able to enjoy the food in the best way I can. So some of the key words that attracted my attention here was, purpose and existence. Whatever it is that I'm interacting with, fulfilling that purpose in its existence. And that in doing so, because of the way that I've been created, or because of the way that I find myself existing, I receive pleasure from it. And then I guess that kind of leads to Mustafa's question about how then, in understanding worship as, following the order of the universe, or using my human feelings and faculties to to contemplate about the source of existence and the purpose of existence of these things and the relationships that I find myself in. But the text here emphasizes on these other sort of benefits or fruits that actually, it says that look to the hereafter. But if someone were to make those fruits or benefits their main aim here, then it kind of takes the definition of worship, or it rather renders empty the worship of its worshipness. So here I'll leave the mic over to Ali Murmur. I do apologize for the summary, but I think it was also necessary for me at least. Thank you.
You don't have to apologize for anything. You didn't do anything wrong. You did a very good job. So I would like to ask a question, not this time to the one who asked the question. I always love speaking to young people, Mariam and Rayan. Do you think you can communicate with me, one of you or both of you, Mariam and Rayan? Would you mind? No. Okay. No force. Somebody else? Anyone else? Come on, those people who don't. Awesome. Awesome. Come on. Okay.
Let's go.
Okay, let's start now. Now, you are doing, I know that you work in a company, right? I hope I'm not wrong. So you work for a company, okay? And you came to the office in time. You did all the things you are asked to do, which is the case, I think, reality in your example. And let's say for 364 days of the year, you always did the best food, sorry, not best food, best work, best job. Everything works fine, perfectly. One day, you didn't do according to the boss. But as far as you are concerned, you did it best. But according to the boss, you didn't do the job properly, maybe with lots of mistakes. And he calls you to his office and starts saying, complaining, and said, please awesome, please do the job perfectly, something like this. Don't slack away, be of these punctuous in your work. What do you feel? That's the question. What do you feel?
I won't feel good because I've been working really hard for the whole year.
How about the boss?
Maybe I need to, so I need to focus more. That's what I'll reply to the boss.
So the last day, did I not make it clear? 364 days of the year, you worked perfectly. One day you did something, boss didn't understand and complained and requested you something, from you something, and said that please do your job perfect, this kind of things. What do you think?
Yeah, I'll feel bad. This is terrible. Like, I've been working so hard for 364 days in one day, and you're complaining?
No, you didn't do worse. You didn't do bad in one day either.
Yeah.
But
so
boss didn't understand.
So I don't understand the complaint of the boss.
So you don't understand, you don't feel happy, you say this man doesn't understand. And on top of this, he criticizes me and asks me to do something more. Well, you get very disappointed, don't you?
Yeah, I'll feel terrible.
Okay, you feel terrible. But I agree. That's a human being. Now, what we see in the world, I am healthy, the practical example, for 364 days of the year. One day I got flu, right? And I am full 364 days of the year. One day I didn't have food. What do I do now? Go back to God and say, look, you are not doing a good job. Please correct yourself. But because I know, as in your case, in this example, you know that you cannot challenge the boss, your boss. You cannot challenge. You cannot say, look, man, you don't understand. Yeah. And I did the best job because you didn't understand. You are criticizing me. You cannot say this, otherwise he will just fire you. You know this. You are aware of it. What you say now, okay, what shall I do? Okay. So what we do to the creator of the universe, to our creator, we turn to him when we are not full. We are not healthy anymore. We feel sick now, and say that, please give me health. But the maker says, look, I have given you the health for 364 days. You didn't appreciate my work. Now for a purpose, now the example doesn't fit 100% here. For a purpose, I gave you sickness to understand that health doesn't belong to you. I am favoring you with your health, with the health. I am favoring you. You don't understand, and you criticize me now, but because you cannot challenge me, you come to me now in acknowledgement that you need health. Oh, I gave you 364 days of health. You didn't acknowledge me. Now you acknowledge me? Huh? Mustafa, this is the insincere worship. Insincere. What does it mean? Because I feel now helpless, I acknowledge the Creator. When I didn't feel helpless, it means I'm healthy in the example. I don't go back to the Creator and saying that you did a wonderful job for me. I am very happy. I acknowledge you that you are the one who who is giving me the health. Now, one day I realize, oh, the health is given to me because I cannot really guarantee my health. So look for the source of the health and understand that it is the creator of the universe and everything in it. So you go back to him and make a supplication saying that I need health from you because you could not guarantee it yourself. Otherwise, if you could do it, you would never ever turn to your Creator. Acknowledge him, he is the one who gives health to you. Example, you don't do this, but insincere prayer, insincere supplication is done only, I'm stressing on the word, underlying on the word, only when we fail to have it. Of course, there is a purpose in creating the sickness for me in order to wake me up, in order to make me realize what I have been doing all through the year in my life. So what I do now, because of helplessness, I turn to God, especially when I am told by the doctor that there is no cure for this illness. How do I feel now? What can I do? What can I do? Do you think the creator of the universe may give me the health? No one else can give me the health. The hospitals, the doctors, or medicine fail about it. And insincerely turn to God. It doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't turn to God when we get ill, when we feel that we are needy of his help. Not at all. But in order not to fall into the category of insincere worshiper, I have to appreciate when the health is given to me. When the food is given to me, appreciate the one who gave me the food, who is giving me the health. And then when I need it practically, I am left with no other option at all, then I go to back. I go back to my Creator saying that I acknowledge you now. You are the source of health. Please give me the health. Where were you? There are many occasions in the Quran this scenario has been repeated by giving some examples of certain nations. Previous nations are unknown to everyone. Doesn't matter. This is the scenario presented to us. when they come to the presence of God, the Quran describes this event. They say, please let us go back to the world and we will be all worshippers of you. And what the answer is, we tried you, in my example, 364 days by giving as a gift all this, what we have given you, you didn't recognize. Now you are helpless. Then you come to us? No, because we know that when I give you back your health, you will again forget about it, because it is insincere recognition. Insincere recognition. That is very important for us to understand, that if I want to turn back to the source of health, when I am given sickness, I have to try now, when I am not sick, to acknowledge the giver of the health. To acknowledge the giver of the health. That is sincere worship. When I am sick, when I am giving sickness, I go back to the same source, saying that, look, I acknowledge you. You are the giver of the health. Please give me again health, because you are the only one who gives me health. Then he will say, yeah, you are true. You are consistent within yourself. That is a sincere worship. It doesn't mean that I will be cured immediately, miraculously. No. Worship is acknowledgement. Worship is acknowledgement. Worship is not besieging at the end of failure from my side. I failed now. What shall I do? Okay, where were you until now? So we have to make the sharp distinction between insincere worship and sincere worship. So accordingly, we should act. I don't know whether I give you some answer, satisfactory answer for you or not, but I feel that that is the answer, I think.
Thank you. So I guess just to summarize some of the main points from what I took from your answer was that, I guess, like, as I was listening, I was having an internal dialogue within myself, and some objections came up, but at the same time, those objections seemed to be answered as well. And one was like, do I not need to feel the sickness to become aware of the health? But there's a distinction that was made there between, feeling, I guess, like worshiping as a result of, like, I guess we need to also define what helplessness means, or what we mean by it in this context, because in my existence, I am helpless. And because of my helplessness, it's part of my createdness. So it's part of my nature as having been created. I can't I can deny it. I guess I can. That's an option that's there for me. But it is through this feeling of helplessness that I also recognize the one who is independent. However, the distinction that I picked up on here was that this, looking to the one that is independent of all other things, because everything within the universe, including myself, everything I experience, and myself included, where everything is dependent, right? So there must be a source that is independent. There's a difference between recognizing my helplessness in such a equation, if you will, versus when I've kind of exhausted, like I have a need for something. Let's say, I'm sick and I need health, but I've exhausted all other materialistic or like apparent causes within the universe, so much so that now I have no choice but to appeal to the one who must have created everything. So I think there's a difference here between, you know, because I've gone to all other options that I possibly could and I have not been able to find a remedy to my illness, now that I come to you, versus I recognize my helplessness and I come to you. And because I know there is nothing, no apparent cause that can truly remedy my situation. And, you know, having said that, this is not to say that, you know, also in my createdness, I find that I am made to appreciate things that are given to me as well. So yes, I need to experience health to become, sickness, to become aware of this health as well. But at the same time, you know, if someone cooks dinner for me every single, like 364 days a year, and maybe not on the, you know, on the 365th day, like every single night, as I experience the feeling of hunger, I experience the pleasure from the food that I eat, right? So in that experience itself, it's also calling my attention to the existence of that food there, even though I may not have experienced a night without food. So that was also another point in my mind that I wanted to highlight. At this point, I do want to read Aishanor's question because she's not a secondary citizen here by virtue of being related to me. Anyways, so she says, feeling of pleasure points to, the feeling of pleasure points me to the source of that pleasure, which points to the giver of this pleasure is pleased with this act. So she's asking, let me just read the whole thing before I comment on it. So the feeling of pleasure points me to the source of that pleasure, and that looks to the giver of this pleasure as being pleased with this act. How to understand divine pleasure? ? Feeling of genuine pleasure equals not contradicting my reality, acting in alignment with my conclusions. So, okay, I don't think she wants to comment on this at this time. Yeah, if you want to kind of add to it, I think that would help.
Yeah, I mean, this was earlier in the discussion, but initially when H. Bezos read this note, I was just, my initial question was, how do I understand divine pleasure? And then that subject was opened up by comments by Ali Marmar as well. But I guess the line of reasoning that I was following more or less was that first I have a feeling pleasure, and with this feeling of pleasure, I am pointed towards the source of that pleasure. And since I am made to feel pleasure with this particular act or whatever, it may look to the fact that the giver of the pleasure is pleased with that act. And so I was just generally asking or brainstorming myself how to understand the notion of divine pleasure beyond the way that it's usually talked about. And because I feel it's so prevalent in many conversations or discussions. And then afterwards, of course, I went back to the notion of, well, what is pleasure? Because, you know, if I just start with the notion of feeling of pleasure points to the source of that pleasure, and then a lot of things give me pleasure, but not, it can go towards faulty lines of reasoning as well. I think if we're not very precise with what we mean by pleasure. I mean, pleasure, the word itself is a very loaded term. And so, just not in any sort of comprehensive sense, but I was thinking that genuine pleasure then must be that which doesn't contradict my reality, that which is in consistence with myself, and which in which I am acting in alignment with my conclusions. I think genuine, sincere pleasure is qualified, at least for me,
as those points. And so with those points in mind, then we can go through the little arrows and whatnot that I drew out. But I think, I'd be interested if anyone has any further thoughts on it. It was more of me again thinking out loud, and I am glad to hear that I am not a secondary citizen by virtue of being related.
Thank you for your comments. Yeah, I think that's a great point that you bring up here. And I think if we were to backtrack a little bit, when we had discussed, fulfilling the purpose and existence of something, I think that phrase plays a crucial role in kind of tying the dots here, although that can become very elusive too, because it's how can I know the purpose and existence of something? But then again, I've been given these feelings, and part of these feelings is also like to want to utilize my own existence in the best way possible, and that entails not wasting myself or wasting my existence and wasting my experiences with other things, so much so that like I don't want anything that I experience to look to meaninglessness. I want everything to serve some sort of purpose, and not just any purpose, but something that, I guess essentially gives me pleasure, which means that it helps me align myself, or rather within myself, I find this tranquility or a lack of contradiction, I think, is the best way for me to word it right now. A sense of contentment and security, perhaps. But I'd like to just take a pause here. So since we've been going back and forth between the first part of the discussion and this latter part of the discussion about, insincerity. But if anyone has any comments or follow-up questions or anything that attracted their attention, I'll give everyone a moment. Yes, Abdurrahman, please go ahead.
To add on, the way we're looking at divine pleasure is when I act according to my reality or act correctly, then I feel at this peace, then I feel this pleasure. So in sincere worship leads us to divine pleasure. Then let's say I don't feel this pleasure. I instead like feel unease when let's say I perform worship, like my idea of worship, and then I feel unease after. And so that means I don't experience divine pleasure. So maybe my worship is not sincere. That means I'm doing it insincerely. So this pleasure that I feel afterwards, it can be a sort of measure of how sincere my worship is. Like, for example, if I worship with this idea that this worship, or let's say this prayer I make will lead, like say I pray for success in my exams or success in my life or in my job, or like to have a lot of money. If I make such a worship and then it ends up happening that I don't get it and I feel uneasy and I feel terrible, then this is a sort of a sign or warning to me that maybe my worship was insincere then. I didn't feel the divine pleasure, like the intentions I made this, or like my perspective were wrong. So instead I should go back and then see like how can I then make this worship more correct from the beginning. So this divine pleasure you feel at the end, it's sort of like you can use it as like a measuring stick or like a compass to lead you on the right way, to make sure that the things you're doing are actually sincere and are actually correct. Because if at the end of the day you don't feel happy with it, then you should reevaluate it.
Yeah, thank you for your comment. And as I was listening to you, I was also thinking about anything that I do. I guess there's two ways to go about it, and one being, as you said, if I feel uneasy after performing what I consider worship, then I may need to just check, you know, or not may, I should always constantly undergo a sense of refreshing myself and checking my own intentions and what is my intention in the worship itself. Having said that, I think on the flip side, although this isn't necessarily what you were referring to, I think anything that, you know, if I do find that I am sincere in my intentions, but whatever something results in feeling uneasy, then perhaps that may not be something that brings about internal security for me. But I'll leave it at that. Mustafa and Yasemin, I see your hand up. Please go ahead.
Okay, so I think I have some clarity after hearing all of your discussions about it. I think every single one of your comments helped me kind of get there. So thank you for that. So for me, going back to divine pleasure kind of clarifies it. I don't think it's something we can feel. This is my, thought about it. I don't think it's something we can predictably feel, reliably feel. It's not something that is measured easily, or you can just like figure out if you're kind of acting in the proper way through your feeling. I think it's more about this is I'm here on Earth. I'm on this planet. I'm eating this delicious food. I am consuming this wonderful life. And that makes me question, right? That says, where is all this coming from? What is the point of it all? What is the purpose of it all? And I don't think that the universe itself can answer it for me. I need the creator to tell me the purpose of it all. And that's what the scripture is for. That's what the Quran is for me. That is the message. I need the message in order to determine the purpose of this creation. Otherwise, I just see this creation and I have a general sense of how to act within it, but I'm easily led the wrong way because I don't know the purpose of it. So with this combined sense of the world and sense of the creator's purpose of it, right? The purpose of the creation and my purpose as part of the creation as well, then I can do worship. Only then can I really do worship. Can I really put everything in perspective and say, oh, I acknowledge that this fruit I'm eating comes from the creator, and that creator created it in order for me to acknowledge him, right? It comes full circle. You connect it to the creator and back to you. And I think that's where sincerity comes in. Where I'm seeing this warning, this second matter is a warning to us, is there's also a worldly benefit to worship. There is also a worldly fruits that exist from it because and then they have a purpose, right? Those worldly fruits, they encourage us, they make it easier for us. And if we are of the weak-minded or of the weak people, I think I personally can become heedless, right? I can worship without thought and say, oh, I'm going to make dua for this new job that I'm really excited about and I really want because it'll make me more happy. It'll make my house bigger or something like that. And that's a worldly benefit. If I'm granted that job, I am given that worldly benefit. But the worship is not in that loop. Now it's gone. It's heedless worship. It's not connected to the real purpose of those fruits, worldly and hereafter, right? Which is to look to the creator, to look to the divine command and divine pleasure, which I'm told about through the Quran, the combination of the Quran, the message, and the signs in the universe themselves, right? So I need to heighten my worship and keep it high instead of, and that's, to me, that's what the second matter is telling me. It's telling me, be careful not to keep your worship worldly. Be careful to, make sure it's raised. It is pointing to the creator and pointing to the hereafter, because that's what really matters. You can ask for health in this life, but it's better for you to acknowledge that health in this life is just pointing to infinite health in the afterlife and the creator of that infinite health. So when you are sick and when you are healthy, your worship should be consistent in pointing to that infinite health, that infinite creation, rather than pointing to this temporary health and temporary creation here. And that's my understanding from all of it. I hope that's helpful. Just that's, I think you all kind of answered my question with it.
Thank you for your comment. Just to, I guess, emphasize and add a small portion, an additional comment to your comment about, you know, needing my creator to tell me or guide me, feeling the need for guidance. I think it's definitely something that I feel, and without any sort of, I feel the need to be guided, and I need the one who brought me into existence to guide me, to tell me what the purpose of my existence is. And in that, if there is a scripture that claims that, your purpose in existence is to acknowledge me, then, seeing, using my feelings along with the guidance of the scripture to see if they fit in to one another, if they come in together. And because within myself, within these feelings as well, my feelings should not contradict any sort of scripture that is truly from the one who created me. Rather, they should endorse one another. So I think that was also something that I just wanted to add on. And I think you made some great points there. Thank you for your comment. I do see Ali Murmur's hand up. Please go ahead.
First of all, I'm very pleased to read what Ashen wrote that summarizes my long, prolonged talk. Feeling of genuine pleasure means not contradicting my reality, acting in alignment with my conclusions. That is genuine pleasure. We have to think about it. The second point I wanted to share with you is we have to aim at acknowledging our helplessness while we are given what we needed, not when we are not given. While we are given something, we have to acknowledge it, that it is not me, it is not these things themselves, etc., but the source of existence is providing it for me. So I am helpless in obtaining this unless it is given to me. Then that will be a genuine recognition of helplessness when I am not given, and asking the giver, look, you are the giver, I know, please give me. That is a genuine acknowledgement of one's helplessness when it is given to me to acknowledge it. That is the second point, and the second point brings us to Mustafa's comment. Again, I would ask Mustafa, when Yasemin prepares a perfect dinner, you come home from work and you found the dinner ready, offered to you. Do you need Yasemin why she has prepared the food? Whether she has prepared the food to make you feel happy, enjoy it, have a pleasurous life? Do you need Yasemin's explanation for it? Practically speaking, I'll go into another subject. Don't worry.
No, I would say I don't need it.
This action is enough explanation for you why you are given it. But if Yasemin wanted to tell you, to give you a message, apart from your immediate recognition of the pleasure of the food prepared for you by Yasemin to make you feel happy, so enjoy it and be thankful, grateful for it. But Yasemin had something else as well. But you didn't understand while you are eating the food, there was no sign for it. So you feel that there is something there. There must be something. For example, why does this lady makes me feel enjoyed my life? Makes me feel happy with my life. Why does she want it? You may not know because you cannot read Yasem's mind. But you know that she will be pleased if you enjoy the food and thank her. That is obvious. That is obvious through giving you the food. It means through action only. But if you have some other concerns and questions for which you cannot get an answer through the food, you know that the food is prepared to you, you are happy with it, you have to be thankful for it, but it keeps the same thing every day, every day, every day. And you say that, look, why am I eating all this nice food and at the end I'm going to die? No, why am I eating all this since the result is nothing? Oh, why does Yasemin keep feeding me with nice food, since at the end she's going to kill me? You are puzzled, aren't you? If she's going to kill me after giving you nice food for some years, and then she's going to kill you, you are sure that she's going to kill you. You don't know her mind. Do you get the answer from the food itself to this question?
No.
So you ask Yasemin and ask her to speak to you apart from the action, in addition to the action. Yasemin, I know that you are giving me nice food all the days, years, but I also know that you are going to kill me. I am puzzled, Yasemin. Since you look like a very nice lady, really making me entertain my life, but at the end, why do you kill me? I don't understand. I cannot read your mind. I cannot read the answer through the action you are doing to me. Please explain it to me, apart from the action, as an addition to the action. Now, Yasemin must speak to you, explain, and solve the puzzle for you. Don't you think? Yasemin must speak in this sense only and explain to you what her intention is by doing these seemingly contradictory things. Do you feel that Yasemin should speak to you
Yes.
about answering the questions for which you cannot find the answer in the food itself. Because food is repeated, and you want it not to get to an end, but you know that Yasemin is going to kill you. Oh, you are puzzled. Now you feel that it shouldn't be like this. You feel it. She's such a nice lady. She's so generous to me, merciful to me. She respects me. She honors me. But I don't understand why she kills me. Then you need explanation to the questions that you have from the one who treats you in this way. Not that you need to be grateful to your creator. Now, let's apply this example to the reality. Not that you need to be told that I am giving you this food so that you will be grateful to me. No. You know that. You feel it. You are created with this question, but you are also created with some questions that the actions cannot answer. They are silent. You have to go back to the one who acts, the actor. Say that, look, I have some questions that I cannot get the answer from your action. So the speech is needed only for this purpose. But how are you going to make sure that this speech is from your creator? That is another problem. This speech is from your creator, but you can know it by using your abilities given to you, making a comparison between the speech and the action, so that there must be a corollary between them. They must correspond to each other. They must confirm each other. For example, you heard a voice in the kitchen one day, but the voice says, Mustafa, you have the question why I am giving this food to you, and at the end I am going to kill you because I am a merciless person. What does it mean? There is an answer to my question, but the question doesn't make sense. Doesn't really correspond to the reality I am observing in the action. Because the one who has
I do not hear murmur. Is it just me?
Ali Murmur, your mic is, perhaps if you mute and unmute yourself, or maybe rejoin the room.
You need to verify. My connection is not good, my computer says. Okay, if you don't hear me, please let me.
We can hear you right now. You're back.
Thank you very much. So you have to see the correlation between the action and the voice, because you don't see that it is Yasemin who's speaking to you. You hear a voice in the kitchen. You are not sure whether this voice is a fake voice, or somebody is making it up, or is it really from Yasemin? But you have to check. This voice says such and such thing, and the content of the voice is really in accordance with what I have been experiencing in the act. So you will say, this is Yasemin's voice, and confirm it. We have to see this relationship. We don't need some explanation from the creator of the universe, from my creator, which is obvious in the action for me. But we need explanation for our questions which we cannot answer from the creation. So human sight, human senses are numerous. One. The second is they are endless. But the action presented, performed in the universe is limited, temporary. Yes, they are wonderful, but temporary and limited. At least my existence is limited. My capacity that I can derive the conclusion from the creation is also limited, because I cannot turn my potentiality, which is limitless, into a limitless quality. Into a limitless quality. Always there is a room to learn more, to learn more, to experience more, to experience more. So I understand that I cannot get the answer from the creation only. I need extra help. That is necessary when we look at the universe and my limitless potentiality. I see that my human feelings are not satisfied with this universe only, because at least my human feelings require limitless life, limitless existence. It means eternal existence without any end. But the universe is ending every time, every moment. And my life is going to end as well. There is a contradiction and I cannot solve it. So the creator of the universe has created the universe in a way that we can understand this creator must accompany his acting with verbal explanation as well. Verbal explanation is needed. Verbal explanation is needed, like a manufacturer's manual of a very complicated machine, how to use it in the perfect way. It is needed because I cannot learn it without guidance, without manual. Do you understand that? From the way we understand from creation how it is taking place, we also understand that the creator of the universe must explain it to me in a way that I will utilize it in the best, utilize the universe in the best way, and also I should get answers to my human capacity, which goes beyond the capacity of this universe, because he is the source of my human feelings, which go beyond the capacity of the universe. It must, he, the creator of my feelings, must answer my questions. In this sense, we need the verbal explanation. We need. Otherwise, as far as reading and benefiting from the universe is concerned, how to interact with the universe, how should I use my feelings towards the creator of the universe through using the acts of the creator. I don't need verbal explanation. I know it. I learned it from the creation. Verbal explanation must address to my need of the human feelings which go beyond the capacity of the universe. I think we have to understand this matter, but I am not able to explain it in an appropriate way. If someone helps me, I will be very happy, because it is a missing point in the minds of those people who follow certain religion. It doesn't mean Islam only. All religions which require to believe in God, or which profess believe in God. But we should try to avoid using this cultural language. It means we need the Quran to speak, to explain to me. Quran is out there, but how do we know whether I need the Quran or not? And how do we know Quran is the word of the Creator? These points need to be verified within our own capacity. We need to look for a solution for this problem. Inshallah. Thank you.
Thank you, Ali Marmar, for your explanation. I think if I would try to summarize the gist of it in one sentence, I would say that in my experience of existence, my expectations from the speech of my creator should address questions that I cannot find the answers to within the created actions of the creator that I interact with, which teach me something else. Because otherwise, if a scripture teaches me something that I can already deduce from my interactions with the universe, aka the created action of the creator, then it becomes redundant, it becomes unnecessary, and it doesn't teach me anything that I don't already have access to before. And in those questions, again, emphasizing on the fact that those questions that I have are ones that stem from my human feelings, human expectations, and human potentiality would be where those questions that I cannot find the answers to within the universe would stem from. So that would be my summary, hopefully in a nutshell. We are out of time, it seems. But I do just want to take a moment to see if anyone has any final remarks. Ali Marmar, please go ahead.
Sorry, I'm bursting to touch upon this point. The second method says, worship, look to the divine command. The first line, I'm just skipping the servitude of God. It means an extension of the meaning of worship. Worship to look to the divine command. So we all know that, but I would like to just refresh our minds, not to go back again to the second matter next week. So I say, you all know that divine command has two forms. One is the creation. Creation is the result of divine command, must be the result of divine command, because the creation cannot exist by itself. So through my creation, through the creation of the universe, and through the creation of the relationship between me and the universe, I can learn divine command. That's one. And the second divine command is, we talked about that in some matters, we need verbal explanation from the Creator in order to answer my questions, as H. Beza summarized it perfectly. Thank you for the summary. So both commands must correspond to each other. Both commands must correspond to each other. That is how we can reach the fulfillment, satisfaction in our actions. So there should be no contradiction between what is created and what is explained in the verbal speech. So that's what we should understand from divine command. That's why I wanted to ask. Otherwise, if we just reduce the divine command to verbal explanation, it doesn't match our reality, because we are interacting with the universe. As a result of this interaction, we feel that we have to perform worship. It must acknowledge the source. It is wonderful. And also my feelings urges me to acknowledge, to be thankful to the source of existence. So both of them must work hand in hand. Thank you. I know we are out of time. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that was a perfect way to wrap this up. The divine command being through two different forms, one being through the creation and one being through the verbal explanation of my creator. Inshallah, with that, we can come to a close. Hamim, would you like to take it away with the dua, inshallah?
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. Glory be unto you. We have no knowledge save except that which you've taught us. Indeed, you are all knowledgeable, all wise. وآخر دعواهم أن الحمد لله رب العالمين بحرمة سر سورة الفاتحة. Ameen. Alrighty, Jazakallah khair, everyone. Great discussion. See you all next week. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam. Thank you. Thank you all for joining us here. Alhamdulillah.
Thank
Thank
you all.
you,
Assalamu
everyone.
alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.